Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back with another live stream of Hearthstone. So we are working on the European account right now. Today's Wednesday, October 18th. We need to do the arena runs that I've already purchased. I guess I shouldn't pre-purchase arena runs going forward. Just because we're going to get a free entry with the next expansion. We also have some daily quests. We need to get 2 of these done, so I need a victory with a Druid or a Hunter, 5 victories, which that's asking a lot. Or play Divine Shield minion, 10 of which, or Warlock class cards. So I need to pick either a Druid or Hunter, and not a Paladin. So unless there's just no Druid or Hunter here, which there isn't, I guess I'm playing Paladin. I've got the Hearth Arena app, but I'm going to have to close it because it shows ads now. It's ridiculous. Like, that's what I figured. Like, so we're just going to cheat and pick the highest number that we can do. If I can find something with the Divine Shield and play it, that would be nice too. We've got a lot of news to still cover. We had Cake Boss on the chat and then we lost him, and so we're going late. I started at 4 in Central Time, and I think I'm gonna try to always start at 4 Central Time, but because of the arena runs today, we're gonna go late no matter what, regardless of when I started. So here's one of those PC Gamer articles that I complain about, and I'm complaining more and more about them, frankly, because they're some of the worst that I'm following. And either I don't follow them anymore and then I have less news, or I find a suitable replacement that, wow, that's a high number one. That one's gonna get nerfed, almost certainly. But it's a new card too, and that's why it hasn't been nerfed so far. PC Gamer goes, are indie games too cheap? And that's funny because Bank of America just today downgraded the credit rating of Chipotle, which is a restaurant, because, quote, they were paying their employees too much. Like, wow. So you don't have a good credit rating because the bank thinks you're paying your employees too much. That's ridiculous. And it kind of feeds really well into the idea that the banks have too much power and they might be able to control things. I mean, if they can make it more difficult for your business to do business because they don't like that you're paying employees, it's like, that's scary. That's really scary. And it's not like they can just go to a local credit union or a different bank and get a line of credit. They could try, certainly, but if you're talking a major corporation, you know, Bank of America in the United States is probably one of 3 or 4 major companies that could give you a line of credit for large amounts of dollars, millions and millions. You're not going to get that through multiple different sources. Hey, I already have a win, and I think the reason why I already have a win is because I got this extra win free and this arena run free from the last expansion. So let's go ahead and just close this because we don't need it anymore. The average indie game on Steam costs less than $9 and sells few copies. Are those prices sustainable? Well, let's be honest. If you're averaging out all the indie games on Steam, then 99.9% of them, to guess, are garbage. And they're fake games, or they're close to fake games. They're only there to sell trading cards or achievements. They're not made by legitimate companies that want to legitimately sell product and actually have any pride behind it. So that's really the wrong perspective. if you said, on the other hand, or all the good indie games average to the price of $9 and sell very few copies, it still might be very doable, particularly with Steam Direct. If you only have to put $100 down to put your game on Steam, and then you sell 12 copies, well, 13 copies, you've made your $100 back. You sell 26 and you've doubled your money. Like, if you're just one person who programmed a game at a game jam, or as in class while you were going through programming class, $9 and selling less than 100 copies might work. It only makes this argument only makes sense if you're an indie company that has 100 developers that have been working for 6 months and their game is selling for $9. Most indie sellers and indie developers seem to be more than happy to allow their games to go on sale for a lot more than the regular price that is required by AAA developers. Like, you very rarely see a AAA game go below $10. Maybe you'll get it down to 7 or 8, even when the biggest of the biggest sales happen. And see, PC Gamer is continuing here and is saying the rising costs of production. I was just saying in the last recording, they need to stop increasing the cost of production in games. All games can look good on a reasonable budget. We don't need to push everything up to 4K, 8K graphics. We don't need to hire famous voice actors. We don't need to make things 300-hour experiences. Just keep the games at the price they are at, or lower the price of games, because frankly, even though you may be paying $60 for the base game, in reality you're probably paying $90 to $100 plus on a AAA game when you buy all the DLC that is kind of necessary, and you have the season pass, and you maybe make a microtransaction here and there. Like,
it's time for a little blood.
they're mentioning The Witness. The Witness was a hugely overpriced game that came out at $40, and it has never been on sale for less than $20. And you know what? The Witness is a decent game, but it lost a lot of sales for its high price, and it really isn't worth more than about $12. It's missing any real story. But the person that made it got away with it because they were famous for a previous game that they had made. And the other argument you could make for games like The Witness is that the person that was developing it, I think it's Jonathan Blow, he really was taking his time and being obsessive about quality, and he enjoyed that as much as it hurt him. Like, he can say he should be paid for his time because it took him a long time to make The Witness, but I would argue the exact opposite is also true too, that he wasn't working at the rate that other video game developers, non-indie developers, were working at. He wasn't really moving that fast or being efficient with his time, and because he was independent, he was able to get away with that. If Jonathan Blow was making The Witness and it took him as long as it did under EA or Ubisoft, he would have been fired, and the project would have been scrapped, and then the game wouldn't have been sold for anything. It's really, really ridiculous for PC Gamer to try to tell the consumer that they should pay more. Like, that is just so pro-business ridiculous propaganda. The consumer should always try to get the best deal they can, or not buy things if they're not worth buying it. In the United States in particular, there is this attempt to turn spending and supporting companies into a religion, and certainly the Nintendo fanboys and the Sony and Microsoft fanboys have often, without realizing it, come to the defense or preached propaganda for their favorite company, when really their favorite company could have handled it or taken a little criticism or deserved a little criticism. And it really doesn't get down to a real world perspective, where in the United States and around the world times are really tough. Like, income and number of hours and permanent jobs are going downward in the United States, not upward. So if video games become more expensive, something else is going to be lost, or more games are going to get pirated. And there's no good reason to say, in general, any type of game should go up in price. They should go down in production cost. They should streamline and become more efficient, which is part of what capitalism is supposed to be, but has long since been forgotten in favor of lining CEOs' pockets and stockholders' pockets. Let's see, moving on with the news so we don't get into a rant. There's a mystery adventure called Indigenous Cyber Noir. Let's see, there's a demo for it, and you play as an investigator in the cyberpunk North America. I'm looking at the trailer right now. It's slowly zooming out on some kind of badly animated things. Oh, you know what? I've been watching these videos on low resolution, so I'll have to remember that because in this instance particularly, it looks bad because it's a low resolution stream on YouTube. But now that I've seen the actual gameplay of it, it also looks bad too. So I stand reaffirmed in my initial evaluation for a different reason. It's just sharp edges, low polygon count, 2D characters. itch.io prototype is available. It's coming out. Ooh, what does this say? Like, wait a minute. The name of the game is called Purity and Decay, and it's coming out in 2020. Or it's expected to come out in 2020, so it's not even anywhere close to being done. Yeah, and I'm probably gonna get just 3 losses on this arena run. I'm not even really caring. I have an equal chance playing on the European and Asian accounts that have far fewer cards unlocked. I still have an equal chance to succeed, but that chance is always 50-50. And you really have to pay attention to even get that much done. Let's see. Capcom's Apollo Justice: Ace Attorney revamp is coming out on the 3DS in the UK on November 23rd and the United States on November 21st. So it was first released on the DS in 2007, but I don't think it was the 4th game in the Ace Attorney, well, the Apollo Justice series, following the conclusion of the original Phoenix Wright trilogy. Yeah, they've done some weirdness around these detective things, because there's been Apollo Justice, Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright, and Professor Layton. There's quite a few of them, and now there's a new Professor Layton, Lady Layton, which was like the next generation.
Nothing scares me. Except me.
Reporting for duty.
It's an eShop only release for $20, and arguably it's an indie game. No, it's not. It's from Capcom, but I mean, what does an indie really mean? Is it an independent game because it doesn't have a big publishing company behind it, or is it independent because it's small in its minded, in its marketing and its reach? Personally, I don't like the phrase indie because it's lost a lot of its value, and I like to think of it more as AAA, AA, and single A games. That way, you kind of have a better idea as far as what you're actually going to expect from a game. Like, if Capcom wants to make a single A game that's a small 5-hour experience on the 3DS, that makes sense. Or if they want to make a AAA game that's a 300-hour expanding open world experience, that makes sense too. And it tells more about the specific game than just saying, well, this is an indie game because it was a small group. Like, even in large companies, half the time they might be a small group that's working on that one game. The way they break up companies into different departments and offices. Let's see. Here's a new story about the LEGO Dimensions being winded down by WB. I've already talked about it, but I'm not super surprised. It is a little interesting that it's being done ahead of what their schedule is. I thought their schedule would have been to wind it down even 6 months ago. Let's see, the UK government was petitioned to label loot boxes as gambling, and their response was, the Gambling Commission is keeping this matter under review and will continue to monitor the developments. So really amazing stuff there. Like, that's the problem with petition.com or change.com or change.org or whatever. All of these websites, that whether they're directly connected to the government or not, the government just says they'll respond to things. Like, they'd respond to any question asked by a reporter, which is to say the government won't really respond to them at all. They'll just give a canned statement that means nothing and didn't really say anything. Let's see. Let's see, the update is Cambridge Labour MP Daniel Zeichner submitted 2 questions on the subject of loot boxes and in-game gambling to Karen Bradley, the UK government's Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport, which I don't know how their government works enough to say anything about that, but I would heavily guess that means you file the question officially and then it won't be responded to, or you'll just get a canned response. However, for the world, China has already said put some restrictions on loot boxes. If the UK and the EU work to put restrictions on loot box gambling too, then it really only leaves the United States out. I imagine Canada would quickly put some restrictions in there, and it'll just be a domino effect of countries putting restrictions there. I imagine a lot of the more restrictive Asian and Middle Eastern countries would put restrictions anyways. Russia will probably put restrictions, or already has them. So yeah, if the United States is the only place that still allows loot boxes gambling, the website, the video game developers may abandon it or change loot boxes just so they can sell it in the rest of the world anyways. It wouldn't be a very long amount of time where you could get away with having loot boxes in the United States and then the rest of the world being left out in the lurch, because video games are a pretty global market and you're not going to get away with that. Here's an advertisement on PC Gamer for Warframe, talking about a clever plot twist that reshapes the story. Playing a long con. Clearly this is just an advertisement for Warframe now. It has nothing really to do with any actual announcement of any actual facts of import. If you like Warframe, go play the game, find the plot twist, see if it's interesting to you or not. Here's another article about UK governments and loot boxes. It's the same story. EA is closing Visceral Games and changes the direction of the Star Wars game that they were working on. Pretty much, it's the way it reads. Well, everybody is interpreting it the same way, and I guess maybe everybody is could potentially be misinterpreting it, but it's highly unlikely. The way their statement came out, which I think was probably a pretty bad statement, is that they're shutting down Visceral Games, makers of Dead Space 1 and 2, and I guess 3 too. They are shutting them down, and they claim they're moving a lot of the employees to other places, but they're also moving the single-player story game to being a more like Destiny open-world MMO game, because that's what they want in EA. They want something where they can microtransaction and make a lot of money off of people for a very long period of time.
Nothing scares me.
That they have no interest of just making a good game that's a single player experience. They want something like some of their failed attempts, which don't really work, honestly. Like more and more games like Destiny, games like For Honor is a good one that failed miserably for very similar reasons. There's The Division, which really hasn't succeeded in expectations in my boat. It's pretty much unrealistic to even want to play The Division now or when it first came out. These games have no life to them. They feel soulless, and they die if you're not playing them right when they're brand new, and they're gonna have no resale value because they're all online 100%. I guess that's mostly just my opinion, but I don't want to see a video game industry full of games like Destiny. I don't even like Destiny that much. Let's kill that one and that one. There we go. Next story: Minecraft's Better Together update on that came out apparently is a mess on console. Which console? I guess that would be Xbox, because I doubt it couldn't be PlayStation, could it? I'm not playing very many shielded minions here, but we did get 2 victories. Yeah, I guess you really dropped the ball if you're going to call your update Better Together, and then the game is not better, and it's giving you trouble playing together. I don't know about Minecraft. Like, the only Minecraft that I'm interested in is the Java edition, and it just feels like eventually they're going to stop adding any new features to the Java edition, and it will just become the other versions, the Windows Store versions that get all the new updates. I might be stuck in one of these network bugs where you get a lot of victories, and that would be great on an arena run. If I just get 12 quick disconnects as to succeed, I will take that. I won't bat an eye at cheating that way. We already talked about this. Much more famous Hearthstone player than me, Kriparian, had a appendicitis and is in the hospital. Seems like they took it out, and he was able to put up a video, but he's recovering. So yeah, watch his channel if you want more updates about that. His videos are a little weird, if I can criticize somebody who has way more views and fans than me, but he kind of just talks and then shows clips. So I imagine he's got somebody that writes the intro for him, or he writes the intro, and then he has somebody else that's taking clips of his regular live streams, and then he combines that into a short 5-minute video that he just puts on YouTube every now and then. Here's that story from a long time ago. Like 2 recordings ago, I talked about Fire Emblem Warriors having some free DLC. One of the other free DLCs it has is a Japanese voice pack at launch. So if you want to play Fire Emblem Warriors on the Switch on October 20th when it comes out, and hear the original voice language, which, okay, I don't know if they're going to subtitle any of that, so you may have some problems, but then again, it is a Dynasty Warriors style game, so it probably wouldn't be a big deal. You can download the Japanese language patch. The weirdest thing about this as an option is I've never seen it in any other game where you have to download as DLC the original language. And for the Switch in particular, that's going to take up a lot of a very limited amount of space. Like, you could easily think it's maybe 1 or 2 gigabytes, maybe less, of space just extra on your SD card or internal memory on the Switch. And the Switch didn't have that much space to begin with. I guess we'll do this. And do this. And this. And this. And that. If it for PC games, particularly Steam, where you're downloading the game anyways, it doesn't matter if the voice pack is separate. I just think if you were going to do it that way, there would be an incredibly large amount of people that never saw it and never experienced it as an option. So you're kind of hiding an option that that may go unseen for many players.
Breach.
Let's see. Middle Earth Shadow of War, a game that's probably not worth playing at all or owning. It says they will, in the next update or a coming update, you will get Infinite Shadow Wars. Let's see.
How long can this
Infinite shall provide a endless fort defense at the end of the game. Will be released alongside the Slaughter Tribe Nemesis expansion. So, from how I've understood it, Shadow of War at the end gives you this incredibly boring and long slog to get to the end cutscene, get to the ending of the game. And it's not, from what I've heard, that you have to buy loot boxes or that you even really need to. It's just that it's kind of slow and boring. At least that's what somebody on Giant Bomb said. In fact, he said he had plenty of loot boxes because there was really so much money that you had earned at that point. It wouldn't have mattered. But after you get to the end cutscene, that long, boring slog that feels like it should just go on forever stops. So they seem very much of two minds, where they don't know whether they want it to be part of the game or not.
You brought me back.
no escape?
And so now this update with Infinite Shadow Wars are going to allow you to continue to do what is effectively a castle defense mini game. It's more complicated than a mini game, but it is just defending the castles that you took over during the main game against being defeated, I think, by AI characters, because I think there also is an online PC game part where you can have your keep rated, but you don't really lose anything if it's rated. Let's see, can I make it to the end?
Is that it?
Can I win or have I lost? Next news, we have one called Dokoku Soshite, Doukoku space Soshite. Is going to be remastered for PlayStation 4 and PS Vita. Is it coming to the Americas or just Japan? And what game? What kind of game is it? Is it a visual novel? Let's see. Seems like a murder mystery game, kind of like a visual novel. In Japan, it will launch on April 26th in Japan. It will cost 7,800 yen. Let's see. Yeah, it's kind of a puzzle game.
Reporting for duty.
I think I've got a victory here, but it's always too early to claim victory in Hearthstone.
I know who you are.
And that's not really anything.
Well fought. I can see.
And nope. I might be close to the end of the news, but I need to go back, and we've been streaming so long. Hey, and we got up to a 4 win. If we get a couple more disconnects, if we can get up to 7, you get your money back. guaranteed, I believe is how it works. So 7 wins out of potential 12 is what you're looking for in every arena run. Can you get it every arena run? No. I can't, certainly. There's a game coming to Steam called Bomber Crew that looks like FTL, which is a game I played a long time ago, about 2 years ago. It was one of the first, like this, it was the second game I ever covered for my channel. And it was pretty good, but it was a little frustrating. Pretty frustrating. So you're set in World War II instead of space, and you're controlling crew to play it. Is there a trailer here? No, this is just this is literally one still image. And guess which site put out this advertisement that for a game with no real facts. It starts with P and ends with gamer, and there's a C in the middle. Anyways, it's coming to Steam Thursday, October 19th. I bet nobody hears anything more about it. But maybe it will be a good game. You never know. It's just, it's hard to believe sometimes when only one site is even talking about a game. Let's see. Hatsune Miku Project Devo Feature Tone DX is going to have a photo mode of some sort. So Japanese games in particular love to just continuously add more announcements on top of announcements. So you'll see the same game announce they've got this feature and this feature and this feature and talk about it more and more. And usually I can scroll down to the bottom of Gematsu and they'll tell me when it's coming out. Let's see. It will launch on the PlayStation 4 on November 12th in Japan, both in standard and limited editions. And the Hatsune Miku games haven't really come over to the West at all. Just for the music licensing alone, I think there might be problems.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
Let's attack this, this in the turn. We already talked about this game. We already talked about Activision's patent to make you buy more microtransactions. And we already talked about the Hearthstone expansion. Let's see, Mutant Football League is coming to NFL Blitz. I don't know though why NFL Blitz is in the news. Is this a new version of NFL Blitz or is this the old one? Like, I think that would be kind of cool if there's a new NFL Blitz, but this article seems like it's talking about an old game. Or maybe, perhaps there's just like this is just an article interviewing people. And guess where this article's from too. This isn't even written like an article. It's just Dave, he said this. Jim, he said this. Dave, he said this. It's like talking about the game these two people played. Not news, not news.
Let me think.
Let's see. Summon this.
If I must.
Do this. Here's a new game. Summon Night 6 Lost Borders launches October 31st in North America, shortly after in Europe. How shortly after? Physical and digital versions for the PlayStation 4 and Vita. And what kind of game is Summon Night 6 Lost Borders? It sounds like there's been 5 more of them that I haven't heard of. let's see. It's a combat game, and then night conversations, one encounter where various killers confide in one another. So, not night conversations implying something like romance, I think just inherently. I just think it probably means what would be the right phrase to say? Intimate conversations seem to be a factor. Okay. Next turn I can win as long as I don't die, which I probably will, unless he plays Reno Jackson.
The menagerie is for
It has more than a dozen endings, so it really is more of a visual novel with combat. But it is also 3D. Like, I don't know how, as a YouTuber, I can wrap around the idea of doing multiple ending games. Like, I've done a few Telltale games where there might be one or two differences at the end, but if there's 12 different endings and you're trying to get it, something like Nier Automata would have to be the type of game you were talking about, where most of the endings are easy enough to get and joke endings, and not and even in Nier Automata there's still a significant number of endings that want you to play the game 3 times. Speaking of Nier Automata, this is news that comes from a slightly different source. Apparently, the director of Nier Automata wants to, once in his life, before he's retired, direct a porno. Which, okay, fair enough. I suppose you probably already saw he had some inclination to that already, because the Nier Automata designs are a little risque in their fashion already. So, yeah, I don't want to ruin his dream or anything, or so maybe somebody famous enough like that will get away with doing that once. It's kind of a weird desire, but if you're a director, it makes sense. There's a new Humble Bundle, and it's the Humble Down Under Bundle. For $1 you can get a Steam key. For less than $1 you don't get Steam keys. Hey, and that's another victory. For the Warlock of Firestep Mountain, never heard of it. Screen Cheat, which is a 4-player game. Hand of Fate, totally worth it, but then you would have to buy the DLC of Hand of Fate, so the DLC is not included there. And then Satellite Rain, which might be worth it. And then if you get more than the average, which let me just reload to make sure the average hasn't changed. No, hasn't. Wow. The average right now is only $3.67 for this, and usually it's above $5 after a couple of days. You will get Hacknet and the DLC Hacknet Labyrinth and Crawl and Hurt World, and then if you pay $12 you'll get Armello, which the third tier on Humble Bundle is almost never worth it. Like, at least in my opinion, it doesn't seem like it ever works in your favor. You're still paying too much money for a game you didn't plan on purchasing before. But the middle tier usually does work it. However, on this Humble Bundle, I already own Hand of Fate, and all the rest of the games are not really games that are high priority that I play them. So, I've chosen to pass that and not do that. Speaking of choices, I guess I'm going to have to figure out what I want to do with the stream now that I am either out of news or very close to being out of news. Let's Let's see. I'm back to my Twitter feed.
Glory to the Sindora.
Let's see. Here's an opinion piece why Mercy's recent overhaul made her too powerful. Don't play Overwatch, so I have no idea if that's accurate or not.
Nothing scares me.
Oh, I should have played this instead, but whatever.
What a bother.
Let's see. Next. Runer adds update number 3. I think Runer needed some updates.
The dark path is my destiny.
Let's see. What do I want to do? I guess I have to play this and this
Reporting for duty.
and keep
That it?
doing damage.
What a bother.
Let's see. New Counter-Strike Go Dust 2 map.
Bring me steel.
Don't really play Counter-Strike Go, so I don't know anything about that. Or really even care about it. HTC Vive is giving some awards away for something. There was a Student Game Awards that was going on, and they were rewarding people
Is that
for that.
Well met.
Nope, that's not the one I wanted, but whatever.
To battle by the holy light.
So, Hideo Kojima he's now of Kojima Productions. I didn't realize that was his company. And then Todd Howard of Bethesda Game Studios, and then Ika, I can't even say the name. Somebody from Supercell, someone from EA Motive, and someone from Respawn were the jury giving the students awards for their submissions. Those student games, if they ever do become real world games, will look so different. Remember, Portal 1 was a student game called Vernacular Drop or something, and it looked completely different when it was finally made and sold. And as I'm scrolling down here at my Twitter feed, I don't think there's anything right here. And I'm about to lose, if I was to guess. See, the National Video Game Museum grants. Well, no. Let's read this article. This is actual news. Actual news. Who would have guessed? And I was defeated. Didn't make it to 7 victories, but I got a lot further than I thought I would. I got really lucky with some quick disconnects there. And do I have anything else to talk about? As far as news, it's 7 o'clock, kind of late. We get a card pack, we get 55 dust and 55 gold. So, 150 entry fee on the arena, and we started with an extra win, which pushed us up. Let's not forget that part. So we got roughly 5 extra gold between the card pack and the gold pouch, and we also got a card pack expansion equivalent or more in 55 dust, because you get about 40 dust if you have duplicates. Now of course this is on my European server, so I very possibly don't have any duplicates here. We'll see if any of these can be dusted. And on the European server I was dusting gold versions to make common versions, and yeah, I have like 1 extra common, so that got me 5 dust, but that's good. That means if we type in new and hit enter and then come out of crafting mode, we got this card is new, this card is new, these 2 cards are new, and that card is new. Now I have 2 of those. That's actually kind of surprising. And where are we now? Like, there's no reason to make a 4th stream here. Let's just quickly open that last bit of news. Or you know what? I'll just talk about it on Friday. That makes a lot more sense too. So what we're gonna do now is go into the post show. It makes sense. There is still 5 Divine Shield minions I need to play. I can do that actually really quickly if I can get the Tavern Brawl done. That's the one thing I need to do, is get a Tavern Brawl done, play 5 Divine Shield, and play a bunch of Warlock class cards, and that'll leave us set for Friday. Yeah, I don't really have to worry about this one. And I haven't even touched the Asian account, but what we'll do is I'll risk it and not do the arena run on the Asian account today, and we'll save that for Friday. That makes sense. Why am I talking about scheduling in the recording? I don't know. That's it for this recording though. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.